Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
More than meets the eye.
Better turn off all notifications on this.
Are you the key master?
Well, you can tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a woman's man, no time to talk.
Can't see that.
As if.
Okay, hey guys, what's up? This is Christy, and we've got Hart Fisher on here, and I'm with my friend Phil. How you doing, Hart? I was taking a look at your book. You funded last night. You were telling me early, very fucking early this morning. That was probably your evening, 6 o'clock your time. So I have you here on the show, and hey, Charles, what's up? So you had a very long and storied history, and we only started talking about it yesterday. Basically, you had published, yeah. So it's like you had to publish one of my favorite artists and zines, Mike Diana. We talked about that.
Boiled Angel, baby. Love that book.
Yeah, and I also have like a couple of those fucking pictures behind the nice, cute Christmas shit over there. I have to not scare my family. And, Big Book of Dahmer. This was a reprint of the comic Dahmer that you did years ago when Dahmer first got caught. So tell me all about that, man.
Well, actually, it's all four Jeffrey Dahmer books. I published this book on March 2nd, 1992, so it's weird for me to be here 30 goddamn years later and to have the same bullshit happen to me that happened to me back in 1992 when some asshole television reporter bought these books, the Jeffrey Dahmer Unauthorized Biography of a Serial Killer book, a black and white comic book done by an independent publisher who was right out of art school, college with an art degree, and was working as a bouncer at a local bar called Mabel's. That was me. And this reporter ambush interviewed the victims' families. He bought the comic book and went to their homes and jammed it in their face right at their doorstep, a la, like their 60 Minutes or something, and said, "Are you upset about this?" Well, no shit, they're upset. You just showed up on their doorstep with a comic book portraying their loved ones, being murdered by this scumbag. So that led to a whole media circus. And during this media circus, there was a protest march on my house. My work was banned. We were blacklisted. The second largest distributor in comic books, Capital, burned over 1,000 copies of the book rather than give it to their retailers. I had death threats. I had stalkers. It was pretty brutal. And my girlfriend was raped and murdered in the middle of making my first film, The Garbage Man, in the middle of all this. So yeah. I dealt with a whole shitstorm. And in order to finance, because I got sued by the victim's family, so in order to finance my defense, I had to do more Dahmer books. So I did 3 more books. I did Young Jeffrey Dahmer, Dahmer Zombie Squad. Then I did Jeffrey Dahmer versus Jesus Christ, the most offensive slugfest in the history of comics. Because if you want to fuck with me, if you want to shit on me, and you want to tell me that I'm a terrible person, well then, motherfucker, I'm going to show you what the fuck that kind of person is, asshole. So for Janetta Robinson and Arch Murchison, if you assholes hadn't been such a big bunch of assholes manipulating the victim's family so you could get your ass on TV and look like you're a good guy, 1990s virtue signaling. And if you didn't use these people, if Sally Jesse didn't use these people, if the mass media didn't use these people to make money, I would have never had to have done any more Dahmer books. Here we are 30 years later, and I'm sitting there and I'm like getting ready to finish my Build a Bull trade paperback, and bang, Netflix does a 10-episode series on Dahmer. And of course, they have to bring my books into it. And of course, they have to shit on them again. But to take matters worse, they altered my books. They photoshopped the cover of the original book, which is done by an amazing Russian artist, Eric Perukin, who was a professor I knew at the U of I, who did it under a pseudonym so he wouldn't get fired from work because of the politics. You guys think cancel culture is new. It isn't new. It's been around for many, many, many decades. It just keeps getting a new name and a different tool. You get it? So what they've done is they've outsourced censorship. The fascists have outsourced censorship to the corporations. So because of Netflix, because of their damning portrayal of me and my artists, because these are good books. These are very good books. They're very funny. The sequels are funny. I went for humor in the sequels. So the victims' families aren't involved in Young Jeffrey Dahmer or in Dahmer Zombie Squad or in Jeffrey Dahmer versus Jesus Christ. Those are books that went in a whole different direction. The first Dahmer book is a very serious biography book, and I tried to handle a distasteful subject matter as tastefully as I could.
Well, I mean, the thing is that it's funny because I don't want to like disclose how long I've been on this planet, but I do remember the 90s salaciousness. Like in some ways, it was good to be an adult during the 90s, but in other ways, it was rougher because you had shit like that. You had people that did the gonzo journalism. I don't know if that's the right thing, where they'd show up and said, do you realize how fucking awful this is? And it's people that are obviously traumatized by the shit. And it's kind of funny. I've been through some of that shit too that you described, which is not fun to deal with. So I have empathy for you right there. And it's like, it's kind of weird.
Because of the Netflix special, I'm getting death threats again. Because of Netflix, because of they didn't even have to bring me in. I'm not even part of the narrative. Like I did these books. How are these books part of the Dahmer bio narrative? How are they? Why aren't the trading cards singled out? How come all the novels haven't been singled out? Why is it me? And this is 30 years. I purposely left them alone. I purposely didn't reprint these books. I walked away from the whole thing. I did the books. They had their day, and I walked away. You get what I mean? I took the higher ground. So now, 30 years later, I feel like I'm in Godfather 3, and they pulled me back in, you sons of bitches. And they photoshopped the cover of Jeffrey Dahmer versus Jesus Christ. And for no reason, like, why did you need to do that? And I'm an entertainment professional. I've been working in film and entertainment for 30 years. And I've had, these books have been in, my books, the Boneyard Press books, have been in Scream 2, John Waters' Serial Mom, Nat Geo's The 90s special, The Last Great Generation, the movie Val Kilmer's The Salton Sea, which is a really cool revenge film. There is so much that my books have been involved in. Yeah, it's a good movie. If you've seen The Salton Sea, there's a scene where all the meth heads hang out in their shooting gallery, and on one wall is all comic books from floor to ceiling. Well, those are all Boneyard Press books. All the art.
Okay, no. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah, it is. And so the way it works is a production company contacts you and they say, hey, we want to feature your work in this film. And you go, oh, cool, great, send me the paperwork. And you read the contract and you read the paperwork and make sure your rights are still represented. But the Netflix people and the producer of this, Ryan Murphy, they didn't bother. I think Ryan has a personal beef with me. He has some kind of issue with me because there was no need to do this. You could have just called me up. You didn't have to Photoshop the covers. You didn't have to do any of this stuff. Could have just sent me the paperwork. I would have signed it. I would have allowed it. You get what I mean? It's one of those things where as a professional, you do want your work seen. So the fact that they used all this work without permission, they altered it without permission, they misrepresented the work completely. There's a scene in episode 10 where you've got the 3 victim ladies. And I know these women because I was on all the talk shows with them. So I know them. And they're sitting around a table. And this is a completely contrived scene. This is a complete bullshit scene. And they've got the 3 ladies sitting around and they're all kvetching about the terribleness of their situation. And, oh, what are we going to do? Should we sue? How do we handle this? It's like, you guys don't get the moral high ground. You actually sued to get his cookware. You actually sued the state to be able to get the acid vat that melted your children down, that melted your brother down, that melted your sister, or now you know what I mean? Like, the victims were all murdered by this man, and you wanted the implements of what he used to murder your loved one, and you want to sell it for profit, but you're going to sue me and say I'm a terrible person for making a 24-page black and white comic book? Are you fucking high?
I find that interesting because the salaciousness, and people kind of go like, oh, the 90s didn't have that much salaciousness, not like now. I said, it's always been there. The salaciousness has always been there. In the 90s, it had its own flavor. I mean, you had the Wild West in the 20s where you had the whole gangster movement where people were doing death masks of I forgot, Dillinger, and
Yep.
they tried to do one of his dick because they thought, oh yeah, that was his big dick. It's like, no, that was his arm in rigor mortis. But yeah, it's shit
Yep.
like that. And I find that interesting because with Dahmer, I mean, the thing is that like around that time, because I was getting into underground comics. I worked at a comic store when I was younger. They actually had serial killer ones, like Dahmer and all those other guys. So to have it to this level of salaciousness or drama, I never understood. Before it was like, oh, they're like fucking double books. Oh no. But it's like I never heard of this Dahmer series, which is very interesting. But then I never fucking was glued to Sally Jesse Raphael for a while. But then, as I said, it's also the social media thing that Pops is saying. But I just find it interesting, like reading about some of your backstory. I'm like, holy shit, like that's kind of crazy. And, when we were talking about all the underground shit. So in another way, I think the underground shit is kind of cool because you can just do whatever you want. Like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles of all things started off as underground. I remember somebody saying, yeah, I remember when they weren't held by the Comics Code and they could say whatever the fuck they wanted. I don't remember those times. I remember more mainstream.
I have them all. I'm friends with Kevin Eastman. Kevin Eastman is a friend of mine. The comic industry is very fraternal. And well, what I mean is it's fraternal might be the wrong word, but what I would say is it's very small and people know each other. And if you do shows and conventions, you all get to know each other. You become like summer camp friends. And this is what it was like before social media.
Yeah.
So now with social media, and especially it really changed after the lockdown. The lockdown really, well, they're trying to brainwash people. They're trying to like reprogram us. We're humans. We need to hang out together. We need to go see movies together. We need to go do rock concerts together. We need to get together and be big comic nerds and hang out and go through each other's comic books and look at the little toys we got and look what we're doing here. That's what we're doing here because we have this desperate need to coalesce together. We're tribal animals.
Yeah, I kind of know Kevin Eastman sort of peripherally. I know him through David Avalone, who writes some of his books too and is involved with some of the stuff that he does as well. So I kind of know him peripherally. I don't know him, I've never met him, but he seems like a pretty cool guy. But yeah.
He's fun. He's another martial arts nut job. And, he's a very funny guy, loves horror films. Very fun. Lots of fun to hang out with him. He gave me some really good advice, though, because him and Simon Bisley, their favorite drink when they get together would be vodka and Red Bull. And he said, Hart, stay away from it because as much money as I made off the Turtles, I think I spent almost all of it fixing my teeth. Rotted his teeth out.
Oh, shit.
You know what makes me mad about this though is here they are attacking you, Netflix and doing this show, but without your story, without your comics, without you essentially, they wouldn't have a program. And it's like I find it very hypocritical. Like they're making the money off of the Dahmer situation. I mean, hell, they've got like 4 TV shows on Netflix about Dahmer at this point. Even the old Jeremy Renner movie, and it's
with Carl Crew. The original Dahmer movie was done by a man named Carl Crew, and Carl ran the CIA bar, for the study of the abnormal arts in Burbank in Los Angeles, California. Actually, it was North Hollywood. It just closed down like a year ago. And Carl went through the same media circus I went through because they created this media circus and they kept it going so that they could make money. The whole idea was make money. Once upon a time, news programs were done as a public service, and that was part of how the television broadcasters got their license. And over time, they have lobbied their politicians, and they have gotten their politicians to change the law. So now news is no longer a public service. Now news is a profit-driven entity of what they do. And then you've got Operation Mockingbird, and you can see that the news is completely in lockstep. The mass media is completely in lockstep. And that's why I've been locked out. I mean, I just found out, you and I were talking about me being Facebook shadow banned. And you were saying, hey, I don't see any of your posts anywhere. And my friends and I have all been talking about this for about a year. Actually,
I'm starting to now, like a little bit of it. So it's like, but it's not just you, like with me and Demon Bitch, they like kind of like, the thing is every time I get banned for some stupid bullshit, because I said I would hit Demon Bitch with a lead pipe, and then they said I was physically threatening somebody. I said, I'm threatening Demon Bitch, my own character, which was funny because I'm also the president of the Comic Art Professional Society started by Sergio Aragonés. So in our next meeting, he said, Yeah, I'm running a Kickstarter. I kind of got shadow banned for that, and everybody thought that was really funny. But the thing is that I got restricted, but every time I got restricted, I made a lot more money. But yeah, I kind of recognize that if you have subject matter that's kind of questionable, they shadow ban it under certain keywords
Well,
or something.
what they did is, I know I'm on a list. I've been very political throughout my life, and I've been very successful politically. One of the reasons I had to leave Los Angeles is I had stalkers based on my political activities in Los Angeles. I did a heart attack radio show. It was Heart Attack Radio. Brother, if you're not ready for the truth, you're in for a serious fucking heart attack. And what I mean political is all about how they're fucking us. Red state, blue state, doesn't matter. It's all how they're fucking us. So that was what that was about. And I was very successful in my political activities. I'm known for my ability to build teams. I've been flown to Japan and given lectures on team building and leadership. I have lectured at universities throughout Mexico, Tokyo. I've been all over the world as a spoken word performer. I run and operate American Horrors, the fastest growing horror television network you've never heard of. We had 8 million viewers last year. I am Billie Eilish's first director, and yet you've never heard about any of this in the mass media at all, because there's kind of a bit of a blacklist on me because of my outspokenness, because of my political beliefs about freedom and free speech, and about my ability to motivate people and get people excited. And so the day that Netflix, like 2 weeks before Netflix debuted their Dahmer thing, Facebook flagged me for a Dahmer meme I had shared 2 years previously. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're flagging me for a Dahmer meme that isn't nasty or anything. A Dahmer meme for the guy who did the Dahmer book 2 weeks before the Netflix special comes out, and broadsides me completely. I was kind of angry. It ripped open a lot of wounds for me. And and then to see that I'm being thrown under the bus yet again, and then to find out that my work has been altered against my permission. The covers of the Dahmer versus Christ book, well, I drew that. That's my artwork that they altered. So it really, really affected me, and I got very angry. And hence I put together this Indiegogo campaign. And I went with Indiegogo because I wanted to try out the platform, and I had known Ethan Van Sciver since he first got into the business. And I figured, let's go over there. And I knew that Billy Tucci had done pretty well over there. And I'm like, I want to try this out. I want to see how this does. So let's do this with Dahmer over at Indiegogo and see what happens. And so I started getting this weird, I'm going, why isn't this getting any play? What's going on here? And I've experienced shadow banning before. And so I got out of their restriction. I got them to my fans were going bananas about, hey, what the hell is wrong with you guys? And I'm very public about when Facebook does this, or, have you guys been reading the Twitter files about their suppression of political beliefs? Pretty sickening. So I knew what was up, and then you and I were talking, and it's the day we announced the extension of our campaign. I extended the campaign a week because I've been moving. I had to move out of my property. I had to move my office. I had to move my house. And so I've been moving for about almost 2 weeks straight now. And boxes and stuff. We already fucking killed a U-Haul. So it's been nuts. And so I decided I got to extend this one more week. And the day I announce it, the day I put everything up, and the night that you and I are talking, on Tuesday morning at 7:30 a.m., I'm flagged again, and I'm now restricted again on an account that I'm very careful with. And they flagged me for community standards, for misrepresenting the American Horrors page and misrepresenting the Boneyard page. And I'm like, what the hell is that? What are you talking about, misrepresenting? I'm just sharing and posting about our campaign, and there's nothing. The worst word in it is damn. And they flagged it over the artwork for Garbage Man, I think. They said it went against community standards. It's like, guys, this artwork's all over Facebook. This artwork is on all these pages. And all I did was change the text of the banner cover to the Dahmer copy, because my movie, The Garbage Man, is an add-on to the campaign. And my movie's about a black serial killer. If you're a fan of Henry, Portrait of the Serial Killer, you're going to want to get this movie. It's very disturbed. And it was written and in the middle of all this controversy. It's at the same time I wrote the Dahmer book and was dealing with all this stuff. So I felt it was important to put the Garbage Man in there as an add-on, and also an American Horror Story, which is me writing about my girlfriend's murder, the murder trials, being on the talk shows, being on Sally. It's a very riveting book.
Yeah. So how did you like a lot of people when they kind of look at all the drama and all that, and I'm amused by the drama in general, not because it's supposed to be generated like you deserve it or something. It's just like, oh, really? Okay, this shit again. Because I mean, I've had people come at me about my work, which was really funny. I've had people actually personally come up to me and say, you fucking did this to me, you bitch, and try to call me out. And I'm just like, honey, I've already run into 4 or 5 of you already. You're not special. And they go like, oh, fuck. Because I mean, I admit, yeah, it's from real life. But it is like, do I put your fucking names in it? No. Do I put anything in it? No. It's like, I just basically draw it. If you're that asshole, you can change. I'm not trying to put a spotlight on you. But it is funny because the amount of people that are remarkably not, like, I know a lot, I have a lot of friends that are fans that are heavier women. There's a woman named Egley that's a fat piece of shit, but she also lies about being a triathlete. And they think it's funny. Yeah, I mean, it's like I think she's in the first book, but if not, I'll like let you look at the other books. But it's like it's more of like this, like fuck you to all the people that were assholes to me, or the personality types. I started off with Personal Monsters, and that was a kid's book for adults, and that's a popular book. I've sold out of that right now.
Part of what art is, isn't it? About you're processing things. You're trying to take something negative and make something positive about it. As an artist and a writer, you're doing exactly what we're always taught in school: write about what you know. Yeah. As an artist, work with your expression.
Absolutely.
Well, so it's terrible that you're expressing yourself. So somebody's upset at the way you're expressing yourself. So are their feelings more important than yours?
Well, and also here's the thing too, which is even funnier, because I was friends with the people that ran Fugly, like some of my friends that did like that, all that shit. If you go back to Fugly, they have the original shit. I mean, there is one where this guy, one of my friends, he unfortunately passed away a few years ago. But he was like the best. But he was also one of the sweetest guys. But I know that sounds kind of like fucked up because he made fun of EverQuest. Because remember back in the day, EverQuest was the big fucking game that all these guys would play. And I don't have a problem with that. I've gamed on the old style games and all that shit. I just haven't gotten into the new games just due to time. But there was one time where he went up to the guy and started trolling him and said, hey, yeah, you know that game EverQuest? The guy says, yeah, don't you like it? And he says, no, I didn't really like it. It was like a bunch of losers running around like a bunch of elves. And the guy had on him EverQuest 1975, and the guy got mad. Like, not angry, but mad. Like, fuck you! That's my game! Don't shit on it! Like, so it's like the shit people get angry over. But it's like this, as I'm circling back to that whole thing, I'm going to circle back. But anyway, am I going back to this whole thing? How do you cope with that amount of stress? Like, dealing with your girlfriend, dealing with this shit, dealing with that shit, and dealing with bullshit that people brought into your life, and then all of a sudden people, because I've gotten this too, it's like, well, it seems to happen to you all the time. It's like, I'm writing about my fucking experiences, so it's okay for people to fuck with me? Fuck you. Like, how did you deal with it? How did you cope without fucking like going nuts or whatever? Because I mean, that some people have gone through crap like that or even lesser and just off themselves. And I'm not saying that to be I'm not saying that to be shitty. It's just that sometimes in a way, like you kind of have to laugh at it in a way to cope. That's how I've had to deal. Like, oh, really? You're pissed? Fuck you.
I had a very violent childhood. Ooh. And I grew up in a violent neighborhood on the south side of Chicago.
Oh,
so almost all my friends, a great deal of my friends growing up were all being molested and sexually battered by people in their family.
God damn.
My friends used to get beat up in front of me by their dads. You ever seen your friend's dad punch him out with his fists in front of you? I have. That was normal for me. I had one friend's mother say to me one time, gee, Hart, you're not scared of Jimmy like all the other kids. And I looked at her and I went, Jimmy's not my dad. He's not going to hit me. And that was normal for me. Wow. I have a scar on my lip here. I have an electrical burn that I nearly died before I could even walk. I wasn't even a year old, and I tried to eat an electrical cord in my parents' bedroom. My mom had her heating pad plugged into an extension cord. I picked it up and tried to eat it, and it zapped off half my mouth. So I rode the lightning before I could walk. Damn. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had to have 2 different surgeries on my face to be able to have a mouth like everybody else. So for me, picture day at school was difficult. The surgeries were quite painful, and the first one that I remember, they I don't know why they did this, but there was a mirror above my face, and I was watching them cut me up. So I've had an extraordinarily interesting and difficult life. I saw my father blown up in a boat and nearly die when I was like 6. It traumatized my little brother. Growing up in Chicago, stabbings, shootings, beatings, you name it, it was there.
Yeah.
And then going to college, that was interesting. And I got into the martial arts, and I got into Taekwondo, and I trained in a special kind of military Taekwondo that was taught to me from a member of the Korean Army demonstration team from South Korea.
I'm kind of laughing because my uncle was a paratrooper in Nam for the ROK. So yeah.
And I worked with the ROK, and it's funny you mentioned that, because some of those guys, as a soldier, when I was stationed there, when the Americans came over, they stopped doing that kind of martial arts when we came in. So we stopped doing ours around them in protest, because they wanted to learn ours. We wanted to learn theirs. No one wanted to share. So I'm laughing when you brought that. I was like, oh yeah, that guy wanted to make money. That's, so I'm laughing.
As a lifetime martial artist, as a guy, I love the martial arts. And one of the great things we have in our age is a lot of the techniques we get to learn now and get to train with each other is stuff that you would have been murdered for showing somebody else outside of your school, these techniques. And I was lucky enough to go to Los Angeles and train with the fantastic Gokorchevichian and Judo Gene the Bell. So I got to continue my training with a bunch of amazing people at the highest on academies. And that's part of it is, leading up to the Dahmer thing, I had already had 2 of my girlfriends had been raped, and one had nearly been killed by a stalker that was stalking her. My other girlfriend was raped by one of my coworkers at the bar. So I had already dealt with a tremendous amount of violence, and I was already a victim of violent crime myself, a victim of violence myself. So when these folks decided that they were going to pick me as a victim, and they thought they were going to bully me, and they thought they were going to ram me through their corner, I told them, fuck you, motherfucker. I'm from the south side of fucking Chicago, and we don't run here, motherfucker. Because if you run on the south side, you're going to run the rest of your fucking life. And you picked the wrong fucking guy. You picked the wrong fucking guy. And Ryan Murphy, you picked the wrong fucking guy. You had to drag me into this, asshole. You had to fucking drag me into this, didn't you?
Yeah. So who is
no need to drag me into this. There was no need to bring up the Dahmer book in this. There was no necessary need for the story, the narration. And then here's the question: if you're going to drag me into your Netflix special, your 10-episode, your nearly 10-hour show that's going to demonize me, you're going to sensationalize the crime, you're going to exploit the crime, you're going to make a shit ton of money on the crime. Do the victims' families make any money off this? Fuck no. They weren't even talked to or consulted at all. So no, they're the monkeys in the cage flinging the dung. That's what they are. And they're projecting. They're doing the thing that they're projecting upon a person like myself. And so now I'm back in publishing. My TV channels, American Horrors and American Horrors Classic, are doing very well. We've got an amazing viewership. Our average watch time for American Horrors this year is 39 minutes per viewer. Does Netflix have that watch time? I don't think so. They got more money than me, but I think we're doing a better job than they are. And perhaps that might be why they didn't want to name me, because they don't want anybody to leave Netflix and check out my free channel. American Horrors is completely free on Roku or online at AmericanHorrors.net or BoneyardPress2020.com or Glued.tv. And it's free. And there's no commercials during the movie, unless you watch it on Glued.tv, because they insert commercials.
Yeah. Now, out of curiosity, so talk about American Horrors. Go and extrapolate on that. Like, what is the network about? Obviously, it's about American Horrors, but explain about that as well.
Well, the funny thing about American Horrors is, okay, so I did comics, and I love comic books. I love comics. I love the art form. I love the expression of all the different artists. One of my great joys with Bill the Bull was how many different artists I got to have put their vision on the character. It's really interesting to have somebody reinvent your character. I like that stuff. So I got out of comics in 2004 when the industry collapsed. The industry completely collapsed, and it was a whole thing with the distribution. The way it was set up is bad. Crowdfunding, you guys at home, crowdfunding has saved this industry. I really got to give it to the fans. I used to poo-poo Kickstarter until I had to do a fundraiser. My wife died of cancer in 2018. So I did a GoFundMe. Thank you. I did a GoFundMe for the monies that we needed for her treatments that the insurance wouldn't cover, stuff. They put her on any pill they could think of, but they wouldn't do something like, I don't know, severe anemia. Hyperbaric chamber. Treatment for severe anemia. Better than a pill. Gosh, gee, why wouldn't you finance that, insurance company? Because it's not a pill, because you're not getting a kickback from it. But that's a whole other subject. We're going back to American Horrors. So American Horrors, I left the industry and I ended up working in post-production. I had a post house called Crime Pays Inc. And we were doing low-budget horror movies, music videos, infomercials. But wait, there's more. Call now and get Shinn's new book. So we were doing that. I do voiceover work. So we were doing that. We were editing, and I was working in adult films. I was directing and creating an adult. Oh, whoops, I just lost my light. There we go. Back up. There we go. So we were working in this industry, and a friend of mine had gotten a deal to do a cooking show for a new set of satellite channels. This is like 2008. And they contacted me. It was kind of funny because there were a bunch of Christian channels that were launching overseas in Europe. And these ladies, they brought me in for a meeting. And here I am, Hart Fisher, the evil author of the Jeffrey Dahmer book and such. And and co-author of A Taste of Cherry, the Kill Image book, the Kill Marvel book, the Marvel Can Suck My Cock t-shirts, all kinds of shenanigans I've been involved in. I faked my death for April Fool's Day of 1998. So it's been a pretty crazy life. And so I had this meeting with these three Black Christian ladies. And they reminded me a lot of the victims' families from Milwaukee, only they were much more highly educated. They were very educated, and they were very higher level career women. So it's really interesting to deal with this other kind of Black Christian woman. And they're like, we want you to do a horror block for our channel. And I'm like, okay, we want you to do a 2-hour or 3-hour show that'll be on Friday nights. And you're our horror block. And my wife, Waka, and I had already been working on a concept called American Horrors. And we were going to distribute American horror films to Japan because she was a translator. And we knew that most of the subtitles on these movies were terrible. And they kind of ruin the movie sometimes, the translation, when the translation sucks. It kind of kills the movie. So we were going to do that. And we got a contract with the global broadcast company. And the funniest thing is they go, we want you to host, Hart. And I'm like, me? They're like, yeah, we want you to host. That's a condition of this deal. We want you as the host. Well, okay. All right. I'll give it a shot. So we went out and they wanted the show fast. So we went and we shot the first season of American Horrors in 2008. So it was a TV show because there was no television show for horror. There was no news show for horror. There wasn't a horror channel at this point in time. There was no Chiller TV. There was no FearNet. There was no nothing. So there was something that they were trying to get off the ground called the Horror Channel, but it never got anywhere. They were trying to do something called the Monster Channel, and that kind of disappeared.
I remember the Monster Channel. Yeah, it was bad marketing, very bad marketing.
It's a newer thing. This is 2008.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking now.
Yeah, so we did the show. We shot a whole season of it. We had it done, and then the real estate collapsed. The real estate bubble blew in 2008 and 2009. So these channels did not get off the ground. Los Angeles had a tremendous depression. I watched almost every one of my friends' businesses go under. At this point in time, I'm directing music videos, and I had a music video on MTV Headbangers Ball for Obituary, Evil Ways. And so now I've got this whole season of this American Horrors TV show. So I went to NAPI in Las Vegas. It's a big convention like the American Film Market, and TV show producers and all the TV channels are there, and you go and you're selling your show. So I submitted my show to like everybody at FX and Fox and, all the different networks. And a friend of mine ran into an executive in the airport lounge because at NAPTI I stole a table.
We've all done that one.
Latin Heat didn't show up. These tables cost like 10 grand. So imagine a comic convention where every table costs like $10,000 and they're serving booze right there at the show. So I show up and I'm in my suit and tie and I got my briefcase and I'm walking around and I'm looking and I'm talking to people and I notice there's nobody at the Latin Heat booth. It's empty. So I went over to the Latin Heat booth, put my briefcase down, took Latin Heat down, put up all my sales materials, and I took over the booth.
You bogarted it. Fuck it. You know, because
yeah, so I took over the booth, and the guys across from me were a group called Film Chest, and they do a ton of like old John Wayne movies, and they had a huge movie collection. So they're across from me, and the security people are going around and they're checking. The dude's got his clipboard, and he's walking over, and they're all betting on whether I'm getting kicked out now. They're all taking bets. Is he getting kicked out now? And they're all handing money back and forth over who's, got what. And the security guy comes walking right down. And I'm like, hey, how's it going, man? You having a good show? He's like, yeah, I'm having fun. I'm like, I can't believe they serve alcohol here. This is great. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, hey, have a great show. He's like, have a great show. And that's it.
A lot of places don't give a fuck, really. The booth's already paid for, so they don't give a shit. As long as you're not stealing
I'll move.
And
I had a booth at a Fango show in Los Angeles, and I was at an empty table talking to somebody, and it turned out it was Bruce Campbell's table. So Bruce comes up to do his signing, and he's like, I believe that's my table. And I'm like, well, I guess it is. I'm sorry, let me move. Get up and leave.
Well, okay, so your story reminds me a lot of, again, we talk about this a lot, Bernard Krigsten, the guy that did the first comic book or comic strip about revealing what happened in Nazi Germany, because Hollywood at the time was shutting down all the anti-Nazi stuff about the Holocaust and all that. In fact, they even went over to the Cannes Film Festival and shut down a documentary that called The White Snow. And, it's a horrible documentary. And they were trying to ban this guy for years. And then all of a sudden, as people wanted to know and learn and how do we stop evils like this, all of a sudden he becomes like this huge rock star in the comics. And I find it interesting that, again, comics is like probably the most punk rock medium, because here you are doing your, exposing what Dahmer did to the mass public, and then they attack you for it, and then they turn around and make movies about the same shit that you drew, wrote, and inked. Like, it's mind-blowing to me that still goes on in Hollywood.
That's the thing that fucking gets me. Okay, so you do a thing about a serial killer, right? Like, not anybody. Like, remember, like, the thing about Bundy that Zac Efron was in and everything. And then you had, Dahmer, all that. And then they're like, people are coming back saying, I can't believe that was such a gross fucking show. It's like,
Charles Manson Helter Skelter that was on all the television channels in the 70s. Helter Skelter.
The thing what gets me is that, like, especially, I forgot the one that they did of Ted Bundy that Zac Efron was in. It's like something silent. It was a recent one. And like all these people are coming up and said, like, it's never okay to okay his behavior. It's like, you dumb fucks. This was after the perception of his girlfriend, because he actually treated his girlfriend nice when he was doing horrible things to women. So this is from her perspective. This isn't like, oh, I'm making it nice. It's like, okay, how come he was okay with me, but all the other women, he fucking felt like he had to do it. So it's exploring that. And with Dahmer,
why do we have all these movies glorifying war? Why do we have all these movies that glorify blowing people to bits and bombing people and blowing people up and shooting them in the legs and shooting them in the guts and torturing people? Why is this presented as something good? Why do people go, oh, well, it's all right if he swatted him for this reason, but if that guy's a dick, it's not right. It's okay to swat the dick, but it's not okay to swat the good guy. Hey, guys, it's wrong to swat anybody. It's wrong. Or the notion of, okay, I had a woman attack me here in Wisconsin. I was at a party and a woman didn't like that I had directed adult films. And I'm in a private conversation with somebody, and this woman came up and started yelling at me, and I made a couple jokes. So she physically attacked me and started punching me and hitting me. And I was talking about this with somebody, and I had to restrain this woman to keep her from she was about to start punching me in the face, and I had to restrain this woman. And some of the men came to attack me, and I had to handle them. So when I was talking about this with the person who threw the party, and I'm like, you didn't have security at this giant party, and everybody's drunk, and you got everybody drunk, and you're yelling at me about this issue. And I'm like, I didn't sue you. I could have, but I didn't. This all happened on your property. And he goes, well, you should have just let that woman beat you up because you're a big guy. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, you're a big guy. You should just let her beat you up. What the fuck does that mean? That's insane. There's nothing in the law that says it's okay for a little dog to bite a big dog because the little dog's little. That's bullshit. That is not in the law. Life doesn't work that way. So the notion that, let's say you're in a relationship and you feel it's okay as a woman to hit a man because he's bigger than you, that's bullshit. It's utter bullshit. You shouldn't be hitting anybody. You should be hitting nobody unless you're in the dojo and you got gloves on or in the boxing rig. You shouldn't be hitting nobody. Get what I mean?
Right. Assault is assault. Assault is assault.
It's like now, it's like now, it's like there are actual, like, it, unfortunately, it's like, it kind of sucks. Like, from what I've seen of guys as well, because I have a lot of guy friends as well. You know, I had a lot of guy friends before I had a lot of girlfriends. It was just like, you know, sometimes like the men would be exposed to shit that if in a woman's place, it would be mentally abusive. And I've seen, and unfortunately, I've been through a relationship like that with a guy. And the thing is that, you know, after you've been through it and after you've processed it, you can see it where it happens. It's not like I'm hyper vigilant and being like, oh, that person, but it's like you could tell because you've been through it. And sometimes with some of the guys that I've known that have been through that, they'll pass it off as no big deal, but you see the damage. I mean,
no,
women
it's a big deal. It's upsetting. Believe me, after my wife's death, I found myself in a new town. I'm out here in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And I really like it. You know, I got away from LA to get my wife who had illnesses. Wanted to get her someplace healthier without the same kind of crime rate as LA.
Yeah.
The place I lived in Los Angeles was super violent. Again, that's where Billie Eilish grew up next door to me and her brother Finney. And that's where we launched American Horrors. We launched American Horrors out of the house next door to Phineas and Billy.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh,
So
that's
Billy
hilarious.
in the opening credits. So the opening credits of the American Horrors television series was shot in Billy's backyard with her little playset that her father made for her, Patrick. And I knew them. I knew the family. You know, it was a violent neighborhood. So I was a bouncer and a security dude. So I always had my eyes open, and people were getting shot and stabbed all the time. A teenage boy was stabbed up by some other boys on a Sunday afternoon, half a block from my house, actually within eye line of my house while I was reading the Sunday paper on my porch.
Jesus Christ.
So this is a very violent area.
And people wonder why I hate LA with a fiery passion.
Oh, it's not that it's LA. I had the same shit in Chicago. So it's not that. You know, part of the reason I moved to Lake Geneva was so that my wife could walk the dog without fear for her life. We had a pit bull. We had a big old pit bull. So out here, after her death, I've been sexually assaulted and battered in the bar more than once by women. I was in a bar, and this woman starts talking to me across the bar, and she was drunk and walked over and grabbed me by my testicles, like just grabbed me, and it fucking hurt. It fucking hurt. And I'm like, what the fuck? Get off me. Get off me. And she's got him, and it fucking hurts. And I'm like, get off me. And there's other men standing around me, and there's the bartender who's a man, and no one knows what the fuck to do. And she's going, what? You too cool for school? I said, get off me. Get off me. Let me go. Get the fuck off me. And I'm twice her size. I'm a martial artist. But if I haul off and I crack this person, who's going to get grabbed? Who are the police going to grab? They're going to grab me. So I finally get her off me. And she's like, oh, you think you're all that in a bag of chips? I'm like, get away from me. Just get away from me. And that has happened to me several times from women here at the bars in Lake Geneva. That never happened to me in LA. I never had a woman do that to me in Los Angeles. But it's happened to me several times here in LA. And they were all grown women. They weren't fucking 25-year-old drunkies. These are women in their 40s and 50s who did this. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and again, it's like weird because it's like, you know, as I said, abuse is never good in any level. That's why I think it's funny because sometimes everybody's like, well, abuse is bad no matter what, but then they'll favor one side or another. And this is what I've noticed, actually, having been through that, having been stalked, having been going through that. It's funny how the people that go against it, they're like, well, you should do all this thing the most. But then when you say, hey, I'm seeing this is a sign to me that this is abuse. Oh, well, no, that's nothing. That person's grown ass. It's like, so you don't understand what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm like, listen to my words. I've been through this, And
Well,
even when
sometimes they don't want to give it to you. They don't want to give it to you. You're not good enough. They don't want to give you that caveat. They don't want to, like, okay, for myself, I was damned as being insensitive. And they would say stuff like, if only he lost a loved one, Hart Fisher wouldn't write these terrible books. Well, you ignorant ass. I've been losing my loved ones since I was a child. I'm a victim of violence. So the fact that you're saying that shows your own ignorance. It also shows how little you actually give a fuck. And it shows how hard you need to virtue signal.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the thing is that, like, when I had to deal with somebody that was harassing me, I won't go into details, but Philip knows about that. So it's like, when this person started, I knew because it happened to me before. And when I started talking about it, I said, I think this guy's like, this person was starting to harass me online. Like, the language was beginning to get more and more vociferous. And I just simply was like, dude, this person's harassing me. Oh, well, just ignore it. Just let it go. It's like, no, because I know how this starts. It starts small in certain ways. Like, you just kind of know, like, how the pattern is. And then it escalates. And this person had a record of, even threatening to shoot somebody online before. And, and we can go offline about that. I don't want to go online and do this because it's a whole other thing. But it's kind of like I had to handle it both legally and both professionally. I never talked about it on Facebook or anything like that. But the thing is that it is amazing in the community sometimes with the people that virtue signal the most. That's like, well, we're not going to do it, be affiliated with that because of this, and this and everything. But the moment you tell them that it's happening to you, I don't care. I mean, I don't think it was because I was a woman. I don't think it's because, you're a guy in that sense. I mean, I'm not saying that you weren't, you weren't deintegrated because you were a guy, because that woman grabbed you. I mean, that was obviously very fucking inappropriate. But I think it just is all across.
Middle of the day, too. Middle of the day, middle of a bar. Total public space.
Yeah. So it's just like, I think it's like people just don't want to deal with a reality to people that they know that are doing it to you, and they know you, and it's like high drama to them. Like, they don't want to be bothered. It's like, dude, this is what's happening now. Like, when I've had to deal with people that were being abused, and they said, well, this person, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, my phone's open to them. So if they happen to ask about me, my phone's always open. Well, I don't want to get involved. It's like, okay, dumbass. I'm just saying, if they bring me up, I am there for them. That's all you got to say,
So going into a more positive direction, how does it feel like telling pretty much Hollywood to go fuck themselves and the comic fans backing your project, man? Because it seems that the Hollywood fuckery, they try to stop creators from doing their thing, and then fans turn around and say, no, this is what we want. This is what, I mean, how good does that feel for you right now to see your shit fully funded, man?
The industry, this is my second successful campaign. I'm happy about that. My first campaign was with Kickstarter. It was my buildable omnibus, and I launched into that. My mother passed last year, and
my condolences.
It's been very difficult for me the last couple of years, losing my wife, losing my mother, losing my fucking dog. My dog died in my arms. I'm like a country song. My best friend, one of my best friends, died of a heart attack, and the host of my most popular show, Groovy TV, during the lockdown, because of practices of the lockdown. The lockdown killed a lot of my friends. I'm not talking about COVID. I'm talking about our government's policies and how they handled things, including my own mother. They delayed her emergency brain surgery by almost 3 months, and she didn't get proper aftercare. And I actually saved her life once during that particular summer after her surgery. So it's been pretty crazy. So feel good. It's been weird. I could feel my mom smiling. I feel her smiling because Build a Bull was what I drew in like high school and stuff. And doing the Dahmer book, everybody wanted me to. Everybody wanted me to reprint it, and as far as like telling Hollywood, fuck you, when you're in the business, and it's a funny story about that. I met with Will Ferrell was going to get into his production company was interested in horror films, and when we were about to launch the American Horrors television channel, because the TV deal, you know, it didn't go all the way through. The channels didn't get launched, but I still had the series, and we made a deal in 2011 with billionaire Alki David to launch the American Horrors television channel, and so. We did. We launched the channel on October 2nd on Film On, which was kind of like a European version of Hulu. And we were off to the races from then because it was do what you want. We had full creative freedom. And actually, Alki had recruited me. I didn't sell Alki. Alki sold me. So Alki and I started hanging out, and I learned a lot being able to surf in the wake of a billionaire, a real honest-to-God billionaire. And I learned so much about the business. I learned so much about how people handle, and I hung out with a lot of like millionaires and you know, I know a ton of rock stars and movie people in LA and martial arts stars. And so you see how fame affects people. And the thing about Hollywood that you have to remember, guys, ladies and gentlemen, is if you're going to get $5 million to make your vision, is that your money? Or did somebody give you that fucking money to make that fucking movie? So if someone gives you $5 fucking million, you better give them the courtesy of considering their fucking opinion, because they gave you $5 fucking million, and you weren't going to do shit until someone gave you that $5 million. So you do, as an artist, have a certain responsibility to your financiers. And in Hollywood, the more money, the more people are concerned you're not going to make it back, especially now. So it's not that I said fuck you to Hollywood. It's like I got to do my own thing. I can't exist under their thumb. So I had this meeting at Will Ferrell's production company, and I was brought there by the producer of the Equalizer movies. Have you seen the Denzel Washington Equalizer films?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So this is the producer who had the rights and made those films happen. And they wanted to bring me in to write and direct a horror film for them. And I had my first meeting with them, and I didn't like the fact that, okay, I'm the fucking black belt here, motherfucker. I break the fucking boards. You don't break the fucking boards. I break the fucking boards. I'm the one that trained years to break these fucking boards. Now, if I listen to your dumb monkey ass, I'm going to fuck my hands up or my feet up or my head up, because you're going to tell me how to break these boards wrong, and I'm going to fuck myself up. So I'm in the meeting, and they're trying to tell me, the king of horror, the guy who knows horror better than them, that's been working in horror since 1991, who's been a horror fanatic since I was in fucking 6 years old. So this meeting set my teeth on edge because they were trying to tell me what's going to work. And this is right before the Twilight movies came out, and they're going, oh yeah, vampires are dead. Nobody likes vampires anymore. Or they were going, oh, zombies are over. Nobody likes zombies anymore. And I'm just like, oh God, you guys know what you're talking about. So in the meeting, I said, look, I've got scripts, I've got directors, I can produce a film for you guys, but I can't write, direct, and edit a film for you right now. I'm launching the American Horrors television channel. And I said this in the meeting. I said, frankly, launching a television network that I own, that's on every day, all day, is far more important than just one movie. Well, jaws hit chests, and people couldn't believe what I just said. And the producer of the Equalizer guy, he just looked at me like he wanted to murder me.
Wow.
That's what happened, because let's be honest here. It's now 11 years later, and my channels are on. I've got 2 channels now. I've got my own viewership. I got my own audience. I am beholden to no movie studio. Why? Okay, riddle me this, Batman. Why don't you guys tell me, how come there has not been one single article about a free television channel that doesn't have commercials during the movies, that plays the movies that you write about in your magazine? How come there's been no big article in Fango, Rue Morgue, Bloody Disgusting, blah, blah, blah? You name the magazine, Scream magazine. How come there has never been anything about American horrors on there? It's free. About the launch of the American Horrors Classic channel, the fact that Billie Eilish is on there. We did a whole special on the making of the video with exclusive footage of Billie as a kid with her father. She's in a music video I directed where she plays Death. And how come none of that's in the media? So, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, why is that? Gee whiz. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I asked the question because I'd like to hear this from the people in the crowd. I'd like to hear this from you folks, because if it wasn't for shows like yours, I'd be marginalized. And that's why your shows and independent voices like this, the podcasting revolution, the crowdfunding revolution is so goddamn important, because that whole fuck you to Hollywood is the fuck you to Twitter, it's the fuck you to Facebook, it's the fuck you to Instagram, it's the fuck you to all this corporate fuckery is trying to ram down our throats. You can't say that. If you don't have my political opinion, you're evil. If you don't have this, fuck you. I'm going to do my comics. I'm going to do my TV channel, and you go get fucked. And if you don't like my channel, don't watch it. It's free. See, no one's making you. You're not paying for it. It's free.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like whenever Facebook restricts me or any of them, I just start laughing, because actually that's when my Kickstarter usually funds, or I get a fuck ton of money, which is hilarious. Because it's funny, because I think like the community that I have gets really fucking pissed off. And then they go like, no, fuck these assholes. We're going to up our pledges, or we're going to tell other people. So it's like, I've like grown up. I think I've grown to about 200 backers so far.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Wow.
Really good.
Yeah. This is like the 5th Kickstarter. I failed on the first one, learned what I needed to learn, and ran 4 successful Kickstarters on Demon Bitch. So there you go. Like people like the character. I mean, it's funny because it's like this nasty...
I like the character. I was reading the book. I think it's funny. The artwork is good. The artwork actually reminds me a lot of like something I'd see, the animation of like, did you ever watch the TV network Viceland? And they had party stories, and they were all...
Watch that. I've had my...
Yes.
I haven't yet, because like the ones that they've compared my artwork to is like All Real Monsters most of the time. But I never really watched the show. I'm kind of familiar with what it is, but I don't watch the show. There's other people, I forgot what other shows that they've recommended, but go on about that. I really want to hear about Viceland, or is that what it's called? Vice Party Story.
Well, you know, it's Vice. Vice is the TV network. It used to be, you know, once upon a time, Vice used to be a very, very good investigative journalistic effort, and they were fantastic. Then they got co-opted by the man. Then they got bought out, and now they're just another one of those corporate media, Operation Mockingbird, social engineering channels. But every once in a while, you'll get something really interesting, like when they had Michael Wheeler doing this investigative journalism show that was really fantastic. It's too bad that guy passed. Anyway, God, I probably got his name wrong. The guy who played Omar on The Wire, I probably got that actor's name totally wrong. But anyway, your artwork in this I think it was called like Party Stories or Party something, and celebrities would tell their funniest party story. And most of the stories were pretty lame, but some of the animation was really, really good. And your art reminds me, because I like lots of different art styles, you know, and so your work has a real dynamic energy to it. Your lines and your structure and your colors, very poppy, I could totally see your character animated.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I like the attitude. I love the bitchiness. I love the attitude, because we need more of that, frankly.
Well, it's kind of funny why I started Demon Bitch, but it starts off like, you know, when they kind of groom you, they say, oh, you got to go and be professional. You got to draw the pretty shit. You got to do all this. And I don't mind drawing pretty shit, but it's like I would draw well and nobody noticed me. It's like, oh, but you need to be professional. So I would be professional. Nobody noticed me. And I just said, you know, kind of fuck this. And so I just started drawing whatever I wanted. And it was like, oh, shit. Like, it's kind of like, literally somebody said, it's kind of like you take the dead elephant and you put it on a plate and you go, here. And I think it was like also I was gaining disapproval from day one a lot of the time. Like, it would be disapproval, like, oh, you're so smart and talented, but we're never buying your shit. Like, okay, well, thank you. So I'm just like, okay. So I just drew whatever the fuck I wanted and people loved it. I mean, it was like weird. The very same people that said,
I had no idea the Dahmer book was going to blow up.
What?
I had no clue the Dahmer book was going to blow up like this. I had no idea. It wasn't planned. It wasn't anything. I just did a book that I thought would be interesting. That's it. I did a book I thought would be interesting. Kill Image. I grew up reading Mad Magazine and Cracked and Crazy, and I love Monty Python and Mel Brooks and Saturday Night Live and In Living Color, all the sketch comedy stuff. So that's part of what I see in your work, and it's part of why I did Dahmer versus Christ, part of why I did Kill Image. When I did Kill Image, where I had an independent comic publisher, Murder, Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane, and Jim Lee for stealing his market share. And the artist, this wasn't written into the book, but the artist who drew it, Joseph Duncan, he drew the character as me. So he drew the character as me. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh, my God. I got the artwork in from him, and I'm like, oh, fuck, Jesus. Okay. Oh, it's done. What am I going to do?
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I'm sorry. Sometimes, as an artist that works with other writers occasionally from time to time, like, I'm sorry, man, that's a good joke. I'm going to rib someone like that one day. I'm going to put them as in the background just getting hit by a bus or something. That's funny.
Well,
I'm sorry.
The main guy running around killing everybody. Rob Liefeld, him and his wife were scared. They were terrified. Rob later told me, he said, Hart, my wife was really scared because you nailed the backyard, because the character drowns Rob Liefeld in his pool. So he's like, you nailed my backyard in the drawings. You nailed my backyard. It really creeped out my wife. And then I think Jim Lee was really nervous about it. Todd took it in stride. And
Todd would take it in stride, I bet. He seems to be the personality to just do it in stride.
I didn't care, and the funny thing is I could say this now. There's a thing coming out. The Louisiana State University is putting out a retrospective on Todd McFarlane, and they're going to be reprinting my interview with Todd from Hero Illustrated, because I know all these guys. I interviewed Rob Liefeld, a long 3-hour interview for Comics Journal, and I would meet these guys at shows. And so when I did Kill Image and Kill Marvel, it was just meant to be fun. It was just meant to be funny, a spoof book, And they got really upset. Marvel got really upset with me when I did Kill Marvel, and I'm like, guys, you thought Kill Image was funny, and I'm not even killing you guys. I'm killing your characters. Why are you getting so upset? Why is everybody getting so butthurt here? And
because the characters are their meat. That's like their holy idol grail. Like, even though Image has that, like, with their characters, but it's more the artists and creators that are more recognized, I've noticed, in general.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of, like, the Robert Crumb lawsuit that happened, I think, in, like, the 60s or the 70s, when he used to, like, do those, like, Tijuana Bibles of Mickey and Minnie Mouse doing just pornographic stuff as a joke.
Shit,
yeah. And, like, Disney sued him, and he's just like, dude, it's making fun. It's a joke. It's whatever. And
you can actually do that under parody. They're just it.
I did it. No, guys, I did it. You've never seen Rectum or Rectum? Look it up. Rectum, 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 ERRTUM. On Rectum Rectum, we have the Mickey Mouse Donald Duck penis cover, where Mickey's standing there, and his penis is a big Donald Duck erection with a smile on his face. And
oh my God.
Rectum, right?
Sent that to Disney's legal department.
Is that how I spell it?
Rectum, RECTUM, space ERRECTUM.
ECTUM. Okay, let's look this up.
Our show is about to get banned from YouTube.
Rectum erectus. I'll probably have to go to images. I'm pretty sure we will be banned in a minute. Let's see.
Right there.
Oh man, that's too funny.
That's like crazy.
I sent this to Disney's legal department. Is that a review? I've never seen that. You need to send me the link to this. I've never seen this writing about the Rectum Erectum books.
All right, I'll put it in the private chat. Right? Actually, I'll send it directly to you on Facebook.
Oh,
directly to you on Facebook. That's hilarious. So yeah, I sent that to Disney's legal department, and people had an idea of I was looking for trouble, and
I'll put it in the thing too.
I did a book on OJ, and OJ sued me, and I beat him in court too.
Right, because you're doing parodies, and this is what I don't understand. We have freedom of press, we have, the freedom of speech, and
fair use for the purposes. Listen, fair use for the purposes of social commentary.
Right.
Critical commentary, satire, parody. These are all covered under the law. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Jerry Falwell tried suing. It's like, yeah, remember Jerry Falwell and Jameson? He has to thank Jameson for his first time, and he got mad and he sued Harry Flint, and Harry Flint, nope, parody. Yep.
Well, I worked for Hustler.
Yeah. How was that like?
The dude who was in charge of video production there tried to fuck me over, so it was an interesting experience.
Well, that sucks.
Well, there's a lot of people that don't want to pay you for your work.
Yeah, I know.
I think a lot of people that get into production do adult films once or twice. I know, like for me, when I was starting out as an inker, to help pay, a friend of mine's like, "Hey, I got an adult film. Do you mind helping me set up the lights? You don't have to be there when they're filming, but I'll pay you $800." And I'm like, $800 is $800. I'll set up the lights. I don't care. Like, you know.
Well, the best thing about adult, besides, I mean, it's fun. You know, it was a lot of fun. It was fun. It depends on who you work with. It could be a miserable experience or it could be a good experience. And I worked in all aspects of it except for the sex part. I never got in front of the camera. I never had sex with anybody. But I did like lighting. I did do PA work. I did camera work. I was a director. I wrote it. And what I found was the great thing about adult was it was a fantastic film school. You got experience. You had to solve problems on set. You had to deal with actors who can't act. You had to deal with story issues. You had to deal with location issues, audio issues, you know, so you learned so much. And a lot of filmmakers, when I went into post-production, I found out that most directors had very little experience at filmmaking. They didn't know how to make a film. They didn't know how to put the images together. They didn't know how to tell a story. You get what I mean? So from doing that, you learned so much on the set, from mistakes, other people's mistakes, happy accidents. And so I found it to be an amazing film school.
Oh, absolutely. Like, so my buddy, when she went from being an actress to being a producer. God bless her soul. She passed away from AIDS in 2015. But wonderful human being. And what's funny is what I learned from her is, like, everyone, you know, for the most part, watches it and they're like, "Oh, this turns me on." But you have to learn how to hold that camera and film it to where it excites people, versus if you hold it a different way, it can disgust people. Mm-hmm. And she was telling me the science of it, and I was just like, "Wow, okay, I didn't know that," you know. And then she told me
it changes you as a person. Like when you get involved in adult, what I used to tell people, I used to say, "I've been feminized. I need to be held. You better tell me you love me." I no longer, it changed me as a boy. You're like, men are normally expected to be like ready to go at a moment's notice. We're just expected to perform. We're just supposed to make our erection happen. We're supposed to always want it, right? That's the myth that we're sold. But we're people. We're people. We're just like women, you know. We're human beings. And so my joke was, I no longer, I wouldn't walk into a strip club and be aroused anymore. It didn't do anything for me. I've been watching people fuck all day, you know, and you get into that. And so now you want to be with a person. You want to interact with a human being. You need to be with a real person. That's what happened to me. So I found that it actually made me a better guy. It made me a better person. It made me more sensitive to being with the human, to being held, to being touched. It made me a better lover too, I think, because I was more sensitive to my partner.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the Dahmer book.
Speaking of that, hold on. Hey, Eddie, help me. I need coffee. I'm on the air and I'm out of coffee. Help me. Help me.
Is that your lady?
Yeah. I've got a girlfriend now, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's wonderful, man.
It's pretty strange because you know, she has her own. She's been working with me. We met here in Lake Geneva, and she was part of a whole other scene. Her boyfriend before me, one of her boyfriends before me was it wasn't a boyfriend. It was her girlfriend who was transitioning from being a man into becoming a woman. So Abby has been actually a really interesting person to be with and to discuss these things with from her perspective. and to get her ideas of this from the inside of dating somebody going through this process. And so she's actually really cool with the idea that I've worked in adult, and she had her own booking company. So one of the great things is she's been able to help me with these campaigns, and I really got to thank Abby. I got to thank her production company, because she really has busted ass on the Buildable Kickstarter campaign, on this Dahmer campaign. She's just really kicked some serious ass, and she's helped me with a lot with she's good with copywriting, and she's good with the marketing and sales stuff. So she's really helped with that in my online store. And for anybody who's been waiting for an online order, I'm very sorry. We've been moving, and our order fulfillment center, we got flooded three times. 3 damn times, and I lost $5,000 worth of collectible merchandise because of the flooding, and my insurance wouldn't cover it. So it's been pretty hectic over here the last year.
That sucks.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So
now, back to creating the compilation of all your works for this book. When did you finally decide? You know what? Let's fucking just put it all together and throw it out. Like, was it like an instant thing, or was it one of those times where you're like, you woke up one morning and you started planning it out? I mean, because most artists and writers that I know, they don't really keep all their old work. I certainly don't. I've deleted probably more art pages than most that I've talked to.
On the computer?
You saved them all on the computer?
Do you draw on the computer?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Feel sorry for you. You don't have any original stuff. NFTs are bullshit.
I don't do
it. Sell
NFTs.
your digital collections the same way I can sell. Okay, you're not going to sell your digital collection for what I sold the shirt off my back for. Okay?
Right.
So I sold the Milwaukee's Best shirt that I wore in the 90s. I sold it to the fans. Because of the flooding, I was like, I've got all these collectibles, and if you believe in yourself, you can't grow your market unless you have product to sell. You can't get new readers unless you have a product for them to read. So I always overprinted. And Boneyard Press, like, okay, if you did a book for Boneyard, you would end up with a box of 250 books for you to promote. We didn't pay the best, but I made sure you could go out and earn. You had a box of fucking 250. What publisher gives you 200 books to sell? 100 books to sell? You tell me the publisher that does that.
Oh, hell no. The last publisher I worked with, they just gave me like 20 for a book tour. I'm not joking.
Yeah, no, man. And then I did conventions relentlessly, and I did them all over the country. I did them all over the world. And so I've hauled these books everywhere. And you keep your artwork because it's valuable. It's original artwork. I mean, don't you have a oil painting on the wall? I have paintings on the wall from my artists. A lot of the covers are on the walls of my house. You know what I mean? And I'm an artist.
Absolutely.
See, it's weird for me. I like do dual because I actually am a resident artist at the Hive Gallery in downtown LA. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Hive, but it's weird because I actually do have physical art. But
did you know I lived in LA for 22 years?
Well, sometimes people don't go to one place. So
I know that. I actually had my work was sold at the at Mocha.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You know Luca Fisher?
Huh?
Do you know the artist Luca Fisher?
Yes.
He sounds familiar.
Luca's a buddy of mine. Luca's one of my guys. Luca and I did a lot of work together. I did a lot of spoken word with him at his different art events. And Luca came out when he was just Luke Fisher before he really started. He's been doing a bit of transitioning himself. He kind of does I call it the Aunt Ruth look, the grandma kind of trans thing. And so Luca's been doing that and doing a lot of transgressive art, lots of transgressive different stuff, working with music. And so Luca's one of my dudes, or one of my people. Like, get the pronoun right.
It's kind of funny because it's like weird because when you look at your cartoon, like for me, I do my comics primarily digital because it's just easier to edit and get it ready for print. But I also draw.
Bad for your eyes. It's really
it's
bad
actually
for
not
your
that
eyes.
bad. Like if you have a big enough monitor and you're just drawing like this, like I have a monitor tablet, so that's easier for me. And since
Here's the issue with the way your eyes work. Okay, what you're doing now is when I'm sitting here staring into this camera, I'm looking into a light source. All right. So I'm looking right into a light source. The source of light is beaming into my eyes. When you draw, you're looking at reflected light. The light is reflected off your page. It's a different kind of light, and it affects your eyes differently. Especially, they're finding out with LED lights, it affects your eyes differently. They're finding out that from people being on these phones all the time, it's causing your eye to elongate physically, and they're having lots of problems with eye issues. And they're not really telling the public this.
Well,
So I would recommend to everybody, be careful with your art on your tablets. Give your eyes a break. Make sure you give them a break, and don't. When I say break, don't go watch TV.
No. I mean, that's a monitor tablet, but it's like this. If my shoulders get super antsy, then I have to get up and run around. But it's funny because, like, when you were talking about that, it's funny when you see like spikes in interest in your artwork and you're kind of looking at it. I've noticed that either gay women or trans women kind of hit that. And it was funny because I was on a queer panel for webcomics regarding that. And they know I'm not gay or trans or queer of any sort, but they just want me on there. And even they said, like, the woman's name was Tara. She's a trans woman. She was like going, well, you know, the pettiness is big in the gay community. And I'm like, she said it, not me.
I think that part of it is your humor is really snarky. And I think that a lot of men have this desire to do trans. A lot of people do the grass is greener on the other side. And they think life's going to be easier if I was only this, if I was only that. And there's a certain kind of snarky, bitchy sense of humor that you can't get away with as a man, but you can get away with as a woman. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think that you definitely see that in like the whole RuPaul drag queen thing with that bigger flamboyant, you go girl, that affectation. And I think that your comic lends itself to that kind of attitude. Got my tude going, got my tude. You know what I mean? And your book is clever. Your book is clever. It's funny. It's fucking funny. I would recommend everybody check this out. And again, animation. I really think that this should be animated. You could do some good money.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about that. I don't want to mention anything online out here at the moment, but we can talk offline about that. But
Sure.
yeah, no, it's kind of funny. It's just like, so let me go play the video real quick. Hopefully it'll be loud enough, but I'll go play your Indiegogo campaign. He already funded, but throw money at this shit because fuck it, why not?
Well, here's the thing, guys. I'm not going to add new cool stuff. We got the funding, so I'm going to throw up a whole signed package. We're going to release the Jeffrey Dahmer baby bibs. We're going to release, we've got a victim trading card set we're doing.
Oh, fuck. That's great.
Yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer, Bon Appetit.
Oh,
baby
God.
bibs.
Man, I'm so
Oh, God.
Netflix? I'm a bad guy, Netflix.
So it's 5 days left. Is that what it is?
It's got 5 days left. I believe it ends on Sunday. I highly urge people to back this. I'm going to add a bunch of cool shit. Like after you and I do our interview, I've been moving so much. So there's stuff I wanted to add. We're about to add, okay, when you go to the campaign, there are 4 cover variations. And the cover variations of the trade paperback are the 4 original covers. So you've got the Dahmer Bio Classic, Young Jeffrey Dahmer, the Dahmer Zombie Squad, and Jeffrey Dahmer versus Jesus Christ wraparound cover. And then we've got a limited edition cover that says there's only signed and limited to 50 by Andrew and Gabriel Mangum that are a father and son team. It's the first time they work together, and it's got colors by David Kemp. And I gotta say, they fucking knocked it out of the park. The cover looks fantastic. The book is good. It's all scanned into the computer. It's all ready to go. It's 154 pages. We have digital packages for people. The first perk tier, I believe, is like $35. That's pretty affordable.
Yeah.
And the only thing that sucks is shipping's a bitch right now. I wish I didn't have to charge as much for shipping, but I do.
Yeah.
And then there's digital packs. So if you're in Australia, if you are over in Japan, if you're in England or Ireland, I have a big following overseas because of the American Horrors channel. Like the great thing about the television channel is, boom, all of a sudden, France is the #1 country watching. All of a sudden this week, it's Indonesia. All of a sudden is the big, or all of a sudden it's Spain for one. It was Spain for a week, and I don't always know how that happens or why. But all of a sudden I'll get these spikes all over the world, and it'll shift. You know, one time it was Iraq. One time Iraq was the country watching the most.
What
So
the
we've been
fuck?
advertising the South American horrors. So there's a lot of people overseas that might want this, and you can get it. You can get the digital. And I'm going to do a shirt. We're going to bring back the Milwaukee's Best shirt.
So what's the Milwaukee's Best? Is that in this video right here? I'm going to play it right now.
Go right ahead, and I'll shut up.
Okay. Oh, that one.
How they fucking talked me into this, but I grabbed this goddamn shirt out of a box in my mom's fucking attic, and Jesus Christ, I look like a sausage link.
In the underground lair of an upstart publisher, the saga of Jeffrey Dahmer unfolds in the pages of a not-so-comic book.
It's something different around. I mean, you like the truth, you like different, something a little bit more fresh, a little bit more bloody. We've definitely
Outraged families of Dahmer's victims have successfully sued to block further publication of the strip.
We might find what he publishes absolutely repugnant, but here in America, you're allowed to publish and print whatever you want. We have all kinds of books about all kinds of murderers. We have movies about Adolf Hitler. What right does a group have to go and try and ban the publication?
Hart Fisher is being sued by family members of Dahmer's victims for using their names and likenesses in his comics. But Fisher says his real concern is with the family's determination to have the comics banned.
Basically, the only reason they're here is so you can profit directly on their pain live while it happens right here. That's the only reason they're here. You brought me here she's not profiting. She's making thousands and thousands of dollars by you crying on TV, suffering on TV. I did a comic book about a killer. The whole talk show industry is based on festering wounds. You take people, you exploit them right there.
Did you try to sue over this?
Yes, I did, and I lost with the First Amendment. I had that up to here.
If it does bother her heart, what's the problem in apologizing?
Well, the problem is this. Why don't you go out and create your own product?
I write a book on what it's like to be a black called the Caucasian who becomes a victim?
Something like that. I've been through a lot on the south side of Chicago. So when it came time to do my own comic book company, well, Boneyard Press was about that primal scream for life in the face of death. I remember sitting in my father's kitchen. We were having breakfast. He lived in Country Club Hills. And he's as a, so this company you're doing is Boneyard Press, huh? Yeah, Dad. Dad, the Boneyard Creek in Champaign, right? Boneyard Creek. And I'm like, no, Dad, it means my back is against my grave, and I'm going forward, or I'm going to die. I'm going forward, or I'm going to die. That's where I'm coming from. This is what I'm doing. If I don't succeed, I'm going to tumble into my own goddamn grave. So I'm going to go over everything and everyone in front of me.
Boneyard Press. Their titles include Dark Angel, Bill the Bull, Outlaw Nation, Jeffrey Dahmer, the Unauthorized Biography, Kill Image, Kill Marvel, No Stranger to Controversy, Hero Illustrated called him the most dangerous man in comics. Welcome to Cartoon to Space Age, Hart Fisher.
This fucking thing's a large. I mean, this thing's tighter than the last one. You guys think this looks better?
Yeah, it doesn't show as much. It's black.
You guys are high. It's a large.
Slimming.
What do you mean slimming?
It's slimming. You don't look sausagey.
Sorry, you
You don't look sausagey.
I bet that video was fun to like fucking shoot too.
Well, that's one of the great things about running American Horrors is I'm actually a horror host. I asked some of the horror hosts I know, I'm like, guys, I don't host a show. I host a whole TV network. Does that make me a horror host? And like, yep. So I am the host of the American Horrors channel, and I get to do all these fun things because we believe in between the horror should be funny. You know, you can't be playing at 11 all the time.
Wow, awesome.
Oh, he froze. He froze, dude. Let's give him a minute.
Okay.
Hold on. It might be his connection too. Oh,
Yeah, Hart has a ghost.
What's going
Hart
on
has
here?
a ghost. I'm just letting you know.
Am I back?
He has a ghost.
yeah, you're back now. You're back. You're good.
Yay.
One of the problems with the old house, when we talked about the fact that I'm used to living in a haunted place, my old place that I just moved out of had all kinds of it. We always had a problem with internet. We had problems shooting, all kinds of weirdness. Both of the last places I lived at here in Lake Geneva have all been haunted, but the joke often is that I'm the one that's haunted.
Oh, there you go.
Did you guys like that little promo? It is a lot of fun to shoot those. We did that as part of the Buildable Kickstarter. There's been like a couple different like things, like a documentary on my life was happening for a while. There's a book about my life that's being written by Lance Poland. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on behind the scenes at American Horrors because we're filmmakers. The same way that comic book artists all hang out and draw. That's what we do, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, we better
Right
request
on,
some badass covers here.
All right, I'll show him again. Okay, so we got I hate this shit. Okay, so there's a couple of them. So this is like the big guy right here. This is the omnibus right there, the big book of Dahmer right there. And
Scroll down
then
a little bit to that limited edition cover.
mid edition cover, where's that one?
A little further down. It's where I've got other side.
Oh, right here.
I know, it's split. There you go. The main one. Go down a little bit. A little bit more. A little bit more. Keep going. Just keep. You'll recognize that it's me killing Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh, there we
you
go.
Like,
Like
so that's the limited edition cover by Andrew and Gabriel, who they really knocked it out of the park. And David did a great job on colors. In fact, because of this, I am going to be bringing him on for when I reprint the Kill Image and Kill Marvel book as a trade.
Oh, fantastic.
yeah, this is awesome right here. Like I just love the fuck. Like the thing is that I love fuck you art. I mean, people don't understand that. Like when I do artwork, it's more fuck you art. If I'm not laughing like a little shithead, then it's not great to me. So it's like, you know, like when I'm drawing Demon Bitch, you're saying it's funny and all that. It's like usually because I'm the one laughing while I'm doing this. Like, yeah, fuck you fucking bitch, like that.
Did you ever watch Did you ever watch Absolutely Fabulous from England?
Yes, I have. I'm familiar with it.
That, you know, I like that. Your humor's smart. It's not for idiots. Sure, it's bitchy, but that's the idea. It's Demon Bitch, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that was actually based off of some women that I used to know that were fucking total whores on the internet. Like what it was is like, okay, one of them. So let me just differentiate. Like I kind of understand about cancer treatments and all that. Now, mind you, I never had cancer, but I had pre-cancer, and I had the scariest form of pre-cancer. So this is kind of weird. I don't know. I must be like Domino from Marvel. Okay, so what it was is I had been 50 pounds overweight, and I didn't understand why I was getting heavier. And then I felt like shit for a month, and I didn't know what was going on. And it turned out I had a pancreatic tumor. Like literally, it was 2 3-inch cysts. And they basically said, oh, we heavily suspect you might have a malignancy. I'm like, and you know, like, you're told, I thought I was going to get like some antibiotics and go the fuck home because I thought I had a kidney infection. So I'm saying like, excuse me, what? And then they said, yeah, you might have like cancer kind of thing. I'm like, the fuck? You know, because like now it's starting to kick in. But it was weird because I had that weird growth. Now they kind of alternated the word tumor and growth, but the oncologists kind of quibble about like what exactly I had. It was a growth because it technically wasn't, I don't know their terminology, but they just use that back and forth. So essentially, it was like it was a neoplasm, a pseudopapillary neoplasm that would have 100% turn to cancer, but it was in precancerous stage. It affects Asian and Black women only, and it was like only 3 to 5% that you would get it. So think of the 90-something odd percent that when they find shit like this, it's cancerous and it's bad. But yet, out of that 3 to 5%, whatever it was, I was precancerous. So they essentially did a Whipple on me, where they removed the head of my pancreas. And then they like pulled my intestine up, put what was left of my pancreas and the end of my small intestine. They removed my gallbladder, stuck everything onto the side. They cut off half my stomach, stuck it onto the side. And it's like, okay, that was weird. And then so here I am rerouted. And they said, well, you might be diabetic. I'm like, son of a bitch. And now I'm not diabetic. So to death, I went like, fuck you. And what was even funnier is like, as this went on, as I recovered and everything, it was funny. Some of the people would ask me the weirdest questions. They said, oh, what'd you name it? And I'm like, what? And it's like, what'd you name it? Like, it was pretty big. What would you name it? And I just simply said, okay, it's Casey Anthony. The bitch tried to kill me. That's why. She didn't succeed with me this time. So, you know, it's like, and I actually think in Alcoholics and Anonymous, one of the books, I actually put the CT scan of my tumor. It's really kind of amazing. Like, I circle it because it's really huge. Like they said, it was 2 3-inch cysts. So me being the fucked up sense of humor person that I am, I actually drew my fucking pancreas on a stripper pole. I put it up on Instagram. But going back to Demon Bitch, like there were women that I knew that fucking would fake cancer, or I have Crohn's, when the bitch would drink like Jack Daniels and do coke for 30 days straight. And it's like, I have Crohn's. It's like, no, bitch, you need to eat and not do drugs. And then
I knew a couple of guys that were like doing a bunch of coke and boozing and eating nothing but like bar pizza, and they're like, I've got a gluten problem. No, dude, you got a lot of other problems. It is not fucking gluten.
yeah, it's
Wow.
like, you just need to do this thing is stop doing drugs for a while and eat something. You know, it's like, damn.
Oh.
I mean, there was ones where they said, I have a compound fracture in my ankle. And it's like, it looks like a sprain. It's like, here's where my ankle's broken. So one would point to the ankle, but the other one would point to the foot. It's like, that's not your ankle, you dumbass, because like I broke my ankle one time and it looks very different. I didn't have a compound fracture. It's like, but you'd know. And then later on, the day later, the person would be standing up. It's like, I'm standing on my other leg, but I decided to take a selfie. It said, okay, let me let you know something. When you break your ankle and you just break your ankle, you don't want to get out of bed because your body will literally not want you to get out of bed because it's trying to protect the ankle. Also, other parts of yourself are sensitive because you don't want to re-injure it. That's how your body's defense mechanism works. I know because I
broke both my ankles.
Yeah, so you would know this, right?
I broke them both doing martial arts.
Yeah. So I mean,
I've never broken an ankle, but I've had a herniated back and I've gotten like busted up knees thanks to the Army. So I kind of know what you guys are talking about.
I had to crawl up 2 flights of steps with a broken rib and drive myself to the hospital in a 79 Camaro with shitty shocks.
Oh, shit.
Because my asshole Taekwondo friends, during a black belt test, I was training with a dude and I was fighting him for his black belt, and I beat him up pretty bad the previous time he failed his test, who was 2 inches taller than me, outweighed me, and I got my rib broken. And the head instructors thought it was a great idea to just leave me sitting on the floor of the basement there in U of I, and no one thought like, hey, maybe we should take Hart to the hospital. So I don't think too highly of some of these folks that were running this Taekwondo club at this point in time to leave one of their head instructors sitting on the floor with a broken rib, and I had to drag myself up the steps. And the next day I got trapped in my soft set waterbed. I couldn't get out. I was trapped.
Oh,
and this
wow.
is the day of my phone, and so my phone was just oh
Yeah.
I couldn't reach it. It took me like 2 or 3 hours just to get out of the fucking bed.
Yeah. So it's like with Demon Bitch, it kind of started from that, like making fun of people that fake shit in order to get attention. Yeah. And then it just went on from there. And it was just like, and I knew a lot of people like that. And also what didn't help is some people would be like, oh, you know, people like that, there's something wrong with you. It's like, fuck you. Like, I didn't participate with any of this shit. So it's just like a lot of that anger is put into that comic because it's like, dude, stop. You know, it's like, I'm all into personal responsibility and all that, but come the fuck on, you know? I'm not responsible for what other people fucking do around me or to me a lot of the time. If I'm not
How can you be responsible for what another human being does? Like, you get that, you'll get it in this male culture, and you'll have a guy out someplace and you'll have a woman that she'll be causing trouble with her mouth because she knows she can get away with it in a way that a man can't. And we all know in society there's a lot of that, where if I was talking that monkey shit, I'd be getting popped in the face. But you get away with it because you're a lady and you get to run your fucking mouth. And men will go to the other guy and go, hey, can't you control your bitch? Well, no, you can't. You can't control another person. What do I got, a shock collar? What am I going to go over there and smack them? No, you can't control. You can't control what other people are going to do.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's just really funny. Like, so yeah, Demon Bitch kind of like came from that. It's like listening to people and dealing with people like that. It also was dealing with trauma too, or dealing with shitty people that you've had to deal with. Because unfortunately, during that time, I had people blaming me for what people I knew did. And the thing is that I don't even talk to these people anymore. What the fuck? And it was just like, but these were people, which was weird. Okay, so these were people that would tell me to get over it, right? But then they'd say stuff
I
like,
heard a lot of that. Well, can't you get over it? Why don't you deal with it?
oh, this is even better. This is even better when they do this shit. Okay, so when they go like this to you, they say, oh, well, just to let you know, it's like, well, I got over it with this person. You know, I still want to stab them, but I still got over it. I'm like, you wanting to stab them is actually you totally not over it. It's still you harboring, and you're okay. I have no desire to stab this person, but okay, whatever. It's kind of like, basically, I felt like I was on a ship full of fools, and it was kind of like they were telling me how I should be, but it's like, you guys have your life all stupid. I don't understand why you're telling me or shaming me what to do.
Well, what's funny is interesting is the people that want to come and tell you how to run your life are generally a lot more unhappy than you are. I mean, I'm a pretty happy guy. For all the tragedy in my life, I'm focused on having a good time. You know, it's part of why this beautiful woman that's dating me right now likes being around me. I'm a positive person. I'm a problem-solving person, and I've been through a lot, so I'm unable to dwell on silly little bullshit. I just can't. I've been, you know, my wife died in my fucking arms. I can't get caught up in your shit. I had 10 years of dealing with the rape and murder of my first love and 3 different murder trials that I was a prominent witness of, and so was my father. And so I've dealt with so much way bigger things. And I don't know about you, but I see a shrink. So I have a doctor. That's how I found out I had PTSD. I just thought I was nuts. I just thought I was fucking crazy. And I definitely had a mental collapse after Michelle's murder. After Michelle was raped and murdered in 1993, I totally had a collapse. I was in the middle of making my movie, The Garbage Man. And we were halfway through. And we had just been on the news. And so I had a mental collapse. I totally did, without a doubt. I had an utter collapse. And I used to be a teetotaler. I never drank. I didn't do drugs in school. I didn't do any of that. I never smoked a joint as a kid. I didn't do any fucking drugs. And I was the bouncer that I would give away my midnight beer. I didn't drink. I didn't do that. And then after all the violence and all the shit that happened, I had to drink myself to sleep every night for a long time. And the murder trials kept ripping open all the wounds, kept ripping them open. So every time I'd rebuild my life, bang, there'd be a new trial, and I'd have to go back, and I'd have to be plunged into it. And it was a sex crime. And so it got ugly. Each specific trial got uglier and nastier. And I had to sit in the courtroom with the guy that did this to my loved one and look at him again and again. So I would say to the victims' families who are upset with me, hey, you guys only went through 1 trial. I went through 3. And he didn't get killed in prison. He's still in prison. The shitty governor of Illinois commuted his death sentence. So now I got to wonder and worry if this guy's going to get out on parole at some point and go kill some other woman. You know, he's got a history of violence. And he stabbed a guard in the face, stabbed a guard in the eye while he was in prison. This is a very violent person. So for me to get upset over what you said on Twitter, are you kidding me? Oh my, when did I have to care what dickhead in Iowa said? Why do I have to care what Facebook Karen says in Oklahoma? Why do I have to give a fuck? Guess what? I don't give a fuck. And in fact, the more you get my attention, the more I might want to fuck with you. Okay? So when you get my attention, you might get negative attention. If you wake the bear, you're going to get the bear. You're not going to get, oh no, I'm so sorry. Oh, gee whiz. You didn't like the comic book I never made you read? Too fucking bad. It's too bad for you. Did I make you eat that fucking deep dish pizza with anchovies on it that you hate? No, I didn't. You ate that deep dish pizza with anchovies. I didn't make you eat it. I didn't sit there and put a gun to your head and say, you eat that goddamn pizza, motherfucker. Eat it. I didn't do
Yeah,
that.
it's kind of funny because like sometimes people have gotten at me and they said, you know, your fucking work sucks. And I said, oh, my self-esteem. Like
I get hit with the, you're not famous. I don't know who you are. And I go, well, fame's an interesting thing. Do you know who Charles Bukowski is? And they look at me dumbfounded. And I go, Charles Bukowski, you don't know who he is? They're like, no. And I'm like, that doesn't mean he's not famous. It just means you're ignorant of who he is. That's all that means. And I am famous. I am world famous. I got fans all over the world. Does that mean I'm Britney Spears famous? No, I'm not. But people have been talking about my work for over 30 years. Let's see how long they talk about your bullshit corporate garbage work. How are they going to talk about you if it's not even really your spice? It's got to be a product of you. It's got to be something that you love. Like Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, when they made TMT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when they made that, they loved it. It was a whole spoof of Frank Miller's Ronin series and his ninja shit in Daredevil and Elektra. And it was a great spoof. It was awesome, but those guys were into it and you could tell, and that's why their characters are being utilized and talked about to this day. It's why people are supporting Ethan Van Sciver with Cyberfrog. It's an interesting character. It's an interesting book. You get what I mean? Or Billy Tucci and She character's been around forever. You know what I mean? 30
I met
years.
Billy. It's really, he and his family are real super nice. Billy's really a cool guy.
They really are. So the fact that somebody wants to put them in like Comicsgate, I don't even. What do you? Another censorship group? Let's censor these guys for their political beliefs. So what's next? Are we going to censor somebody for their religious beliefs? Because in our country, I believe our country was founded on the right to pursue your religious freedoms, to pursue happiness in the way that you want, to have free speech. Free speech is very, very important. The most important speech to protect is unpopular speech. Unpopular speech is the most important one to protect. So if you've got some Nazi idiot who wants to say their Nazi stupid shit, let them say their dumb Nazi shit. I'm with Joe Rogan on this. Let these idiots identify themselves as idiots. Let them show what an idiot they are. Racism is for very weak minds. You know, you're about your art and you're accomplishing something. You did the work, you created the character, you wrote the character, and you withstood your critics. You're like, yeah, I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's a big part of being successful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're on the right path. You're totally on the right path.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's just I just like to have fun with it, and I've kind of gotten to a point after all the shit I've been through. After all the shit I've been through, I'm just kind of like, yeah, fuck you, whatever. You know, as I said, it's like a lot of times people like that, you know, they just kind of want to hit it and move on. And sometimes like sometimes I've had people like try to fuck with my friends and I really don't like it. And generally I don't get into flame wars, but I sometimes like if some assholes like on there saying like, oh, your work sucks to my friend, I can't help but to occasionally fuck with them because of my friends at Fugly. Like one time I said, hey, to one guy, like he was just jumping on one of my friends' channels and he was like going, hey, you know, just to let you know, your fucking work sucks to my friend. And I know he's a dude and all that. I said, but you know, I really don't like what you're doing. So I just said to him, hey, you know, I heard like, you know, people were asking about your mom, especially the guys in the neighborhood. I think some of them remember them pissing inside her once, you know, shit like that.
I think the woman that attacked me at the party, she was making cracks about my mom, how she fucked my mom the night before. And I looked at her, I went, my mom? I said, well, my mom's got bad knees. She's in her 70s. And I really don't think you're her type. I don't think my mom would fuck you. And that's when she attacked me.
It's just like, I don't even know why. It's like, it's funny because like the thing is that with people like that, they cannot take what they dish out. Like, at least the thing is, if I dish it out, I'm be sure to take it. That's the thing. And that's the thing that I find kind of shitty about a lot of humor comics nowadays. It's just being mean. And people are like, well, you're talking with a guy with a big book of Dahmer. I said, yes, but there's like actually an element of humor to this. It's dark.
Well, here's the thing. So people go, oh, you're talking to the guy with the big book of Dahmer. Hey, ignorant asshole, have you read it? Hey, Big Mouth, have you read one fucking Dahmer book, Big Mouth? You're ignorant. You have not read it. These books are out of print. They're very expensive. The second printing goes for over $100 First printing more than that. First printing, there's only 4,000 copies out there of the first printing from March 2nd, 1992. So why don't you tell me how you read the book? Tell me all about it. Why don't you tell me something specific from the book? The reason Rush Limbaugh gave me a thumbs up on the air when I did Rush Limbaugh Must Die is because I read his book, okay? So when I did Rush Limbaugh Must Die, I read that man's book. I listened to his show. I watched his TV network. So when I spoofed him, I put real shit in the book. Real shit is in Rush Limbaugh Must Die from his book, okay? So when I did Sally Jesse Raphael, they were operating out of the same studios, the same building. So all the ladies at Sally Jesse Raphael fucking hated Rush Limbaugh. They hated his guts. So when I showed up to the show, I brought like a stack of like 40 fucking books. And I gave them to him. And I said, make sure the people at Rush Limbaugh get this. So Rush, during his most popular period on the air in like 1994, gave us a thumbs up and said the book was funny. And I did the same thing when I did Howard Stern versus Rush Limbaugh. I read Howard's book and I peppered the spoof with shit from his book, Private Parts. And Howard was really upset. I got under his skin. He put the kibosh. I was supposed to do a signing with Stuttering John, but he put the kibosh on that. He was upset with the book.
I find that
so
interesting.
I read Howard Stern. I'm very proud of myself.
Yeah, see, the thing is that I find it funny with people that are into shock and stuff like that, or, you know, they're like, oh yeah, it's like really funny, but when they can't take it, it's kind of interesting. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. And I find that interesting because I guess they don't like being trolled as much as they like to troll people. And the thing is that if you troll me and it's actually insightful and actually clever, it's like, all right, I'll give it to you, you know. But if it's just dumb and stupid, it's like, all right, you're just a fucking idiot, you know, whatever. Okay,
I mentioned I faked my death for April Fool's Day in 1998.
Okay.
We had a whole team on this prank. Joe Janofsky was one of our main ringers, and Joe back then was a really young guy, young kid, and he looked younger than he was. So we did this prank, and it went over way bigger than I expected. I did not expect this to go across the country. You know, I let the people that were important know that, hey, I'm alive. And we were trying to provoke people into talking shit on me on the message boards. So the Comics Journal and the Comic Buyer's Guide teamed up to investigate this death. And Wizard almost wrote my obituary, but somebody else had died and they didn't want to put them both in there. It went nationwide. I had no fucking clue it was going to go this big. I like April Fool's jokes. You know, I thought it'd be a funny thing. And we wanted to provoke people. Like, we went on the message boards going, Hart Fisher owes me all this money. How am I going to get paid? And fans are like, you're a dick. This guy just died. What's wrong with you? Because we were trying to provoke, like, the art director at the ad agency. He went online and said I killed myself because he was my gay lover and I couldn't take being gay. So he wrote all about how we would frolic on the beaches of San Diego, two big gay tattooed men in leather walking up and down the beach together. And oh my God, we kept making up rumor after rumor about why I died. And when it all came to the end of it, I was shocked at how many people really give a shit about me. Really,
it's just kind of like, oh, I faked my death. Shit, nobody cares.
It totally changed my perspective. I quit playing April Fool's jokes after this. I figured, how do you top being dead? I was dead. But the Comic Buyer's Guide got all bent out of whack, and they tried to get me fired from my job at the ad agency. They called up my boss at the ad agency and they're like, are you aware that your employee fraudulently used your Samson West advertising email accounts to go on message boards? You really need to fire that man. They didn't know that the boss was in on it. The boss thought it was fucking funny. And so my friends at the ad agency, my little brother, Adam, and the guys at the agency, they got me back. They got me. So I show up on April Fool's Day. The hoax is revealed. And they tell me, Hart, did you get the news? What? Diamond dropped you because of your April Fool's prank. And this was after the distribution wars. So Diamond was the last man standing. There was no other distributor. If Diamond dropped you, you were done. And so I got this dash and like, oh, I'm fucked. I'm fucking done. Oh, fuck. And they're like, yeah, dude, they dropped you, man. It's all over the message boards. And I wasn't a guy on the message boards. They were. And I called up the number 2 guy at Diamond. And I'm like, hey, I wanted to talk to you guys about this prank and about dropping me. And he's like, Hart, we didn't drop you. What are you talking about? Sounds like somebody got you. And I'm like, thank you. Damn it. And I look at them like, you fuckers. They're all laughing at me. They're all cracking up. You fuckers. Oh, you bastards. And I took it, because you got to have a sense of humor about this stuff. You have to. If it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander.
Yeah, I mean, like you put out like basically, oh, you died. It's like, okay, you're gonna have to get something back on that. So it looks like we may be booted in the next few minutes. So go ahead. I've already put the Indiegogo up there if you want this lovely, beautiful cover of Hart Fisher's Big Book of Dahmer. And you want the omnibus coming on. You got 5 more days, guys. And make sure to check out American Horrors. Did I get that right? Sorry, sometimes.
Yeah, you did. It's totally free on your Roku, and it's also at AmericanHorrors.net.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and put that up on there. So, yeah, loved having you on the show, man. I mean, I didn't get to draw, but that's okay. I'm totally cool with that. So it's like sometimes it's like I go and draw, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to say, but I'm gonna go ahead and
some of these comic book people are really fucking boring.
Really?
I'm sorry, but some of you guys out there, okay, look, if you're going to be a guest on these shows, ladies and gentlemen, this is TV, all right? So you're now doing television. So that means you need to be entertaining. So you shouldn't be sitting there with the top of your head. Like this is not like a good look on TV, guys. Like this, bad look. Or that's a bad look. Ladies and gentlemen, when you're on these shows, try to be entertaining. Try to have something interesting to say. Okay, all right, my fellow comic artists, I know you spent a lot of time alone in your room, on your table, but you're going to have to learn this is the new age, and crowdfunding is the new distribution method. And I want to thank you for having me on your show. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. You're a very intelligent person. I really enjoyed our conversation very much.
We can talk a little more when we go offline, but yeah, no, that's really, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Because the thing is that like, at least what I want to do is.
There goes one cat.
Yeah, that's my bitch right there. That's Ink. Come here, Ink. Show us your skull butthole. She has a skull butthole, but this is my cat, Ink. She loves everybody. She hates everybody else but me. And I have a dumbass one named Spam. He's ginger. He's around there. His brain is made out of spam. So anyway, guys, I wanted to go and say goodbye. Please check out Hart Fisher. He's very, very fucking funny. And if you want something that reminds me of the 90s, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm from that era too. But the rawness and bullshit and all that shit from the 90s, oh my God, just fucking check out that Indiegogo. I just put that up on there, and along with all these other links, check out my link at Linktree HoraTora Studios, and we're going to be good to go. So you guys, you have a great day. And
one more thing, if you go to the AmericanHorrors.net store, you could buy a lot of these classic first print 1990s comics.
Oh, shit. Hold on.
Oh, we got kicked off. Oh, okay. Guys, if you go to AmericanHorrors.net and hit the shop, or BoneyardPress2020.com and go to the shop, it says shop here. And you click on the thing that says shop here, where it says click here to shop. It's got all those books. All those books are up there. The Flowers and the Razor Wire first prints. The True Dean book is up there. My books of poetry up there. They're all there. They're the first printing. So if you could get a piece of history right there.
Yeah.
And I need your money.
Hey, Dirk Manning here, the writer and creator of numerous comic books and graphic novels, including Nightmare World, Tales of Mystery, Brave but Not Dead, all kinds of stuff. And I am super excited for you because you are getting to watch right now, right this moment, out of all the things we're going to be doing, you're getting to enjoy and revel in the Madness Comic Network. And that is awesome. Thank you for being here.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.